I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. I'd like to call a meeting of the Montgomery County School Board to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, board members, and good evening, members of the audience. First item on our agenda is to adopt the agenda. I need a motion for adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We now have an agenda. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing on the superintendent's proposed budget. And the superintendent at the last meeting sent us a proposed budget that we agreed to advertise for public input. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Blackburn for some opening comments related to the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. The superintendent's proposed budget as adopted by the school board at your last meeting is on the screen for the audience to review. The purpose of this evening's meeting is a public hearing on the proposed operating budget of $96,178,314 for the school year 2013-2014. As you all know, budgeting has become a year-round process for us as we've faced 5 straight years in which revenue has been below the level of funding received in the 2008-2009 school year. That loss of revenue has required that the school division make some very difficult decisions. Budget updates have become a regular part of the MCPS board meeting agendas, a major focus for the focus area for the division website, and the focus of a very well-attended public forum on budget held by the school board on November 12, 2012. The overwhelming feedback from the public forum was no more cuts or passing along costs to parents, students, or employees. So here's my translation of the message. Keep small schools open, maintain current attendance zones, honor the strand configurations in developing attendance zones, maintain current programs including arts and music, maintain a traditional school calendar as opposed to a 4-day week with expanded attendance times on those 4 days, keep class sizes at their current levels, do not assess fees for participation in athletics or extracurricular activities, keep custodial services as in-house functions, provide equitable opportunities for comprehensive programs in all schools regardless of the size of the school, no more reductions in employee benefits, including maintaining the single subscriber insurance costs provided by the board, the sick leave bank, and the part-time incentive. Unfortunately, without additional revenue, following this guidance is very difficult, if not impossible. I know, as you do, that these are things that the community feels are important to our school system. Through the course of this school year, my staff and I have worked diligently to provide the board with some information about various studies that were approved as part of the 2012-2013 budget, and they were designed to be possibly considered for implementation should we again face difficulties with the 2013-2014 budget. Details of the study may be found on the website. These studies involve doing business in some very different ways. They focus on gaining efficiencies using current dollars without sacrificing quality. If the budget gap remains, and it's currently $3.5 million between known revenue and the needs of the division, I will certainly look at the areas that were focused on in the study as potential recommendations for budget reductions. I hope that's not necessary. So once again, I find myself in the position of being charged with developing a budget without knowing how much money I will actually have. It's one of the strangest things that I've encountered, and it's very different than the situation that I came from in Florida, where the school board actually had taxing authority and set their own budget. The General Assembly started their 2003 session on Wednesday, January 9th, and they will continue in session until February 23rd. In the meantime, we must develop a budget to present to the county, and it must be presented to them by February 8th for an official presentation at their meeting on February 11th. Although the county has done a preliminary budget presentation, a tax rate for the upcoming year has not been set, and so not only do I not know how much money I will get from the state, I don't know how much money I'm going to get from the county. I've been predicting a deficit of somewhere between $3 and $4 million at a minimum, and you will see that deficit in the budget that you approved for public hearing tonight. The board desires to present a needs-based budget to the Board of Supervisors for consideration for funding, and I have pursued that direction. I would reinforce, however, that needs-based does not mean that it is unmindful of economic constraints. It means that this is what it takes to provide what is necessary for our students and employees if we expect to continue to produce outcomes that are at least at the same level at which we currently operate and that allow our school system to be competitive with other school divisions in the region. As we faced 5 straight years of serious budget issues, 2012, 2013, and we're still $5 million behind 2008, 2009. The budget I'm presenting for 2013, 2014 includes some additional items for funding, and they are as follows. The 4% VRS transfer valued at $553,000. $1.6 million for employee compensation. That represents a 2% increase for all employees. I would like to state for the benefit of the audience that although the governor has repeatedly said this is the year of the teacher and has touted compensation improvements for professional educators, the budgeted amount of funds for Montgomery County Public Schools for salary enhancement from the state is $490,000. It covers selected standards of quality positions only and leaves every other hardworking employee of Montgomery County Public Schools sitting on the back row unnoticed. It takes $1.6 million to do 2% for every employee in the division. A $224,000 increase in building operations because we have 2 new high schools, and the complexities and the size of those 2 new high schools require the additional maintenance services. The restoration of 2 vacant maintenance positions that are valued at $98,000, and these are going to be the maintenance engineers for the 2 new high school buildings. Restoring pay to play, which was a $72,000 potential budget cut that the school board has asked to be reinstated again in 2013-14. A potential increase in health insurance that might go as high as $230,000, and I do hope to have a definitive number for the board at your meeting on February 5th. A preliminary estimate is that it's going to be lower than that, and we're thankful for that, but it's not going to be zero. It's going to have a cost associated with it. Replacing the $750,000 in one-time money that the supervisors provided this year for bus replacement, for the 5-year roofing plan, and for technology improvements through the 21st century classroom projects. We've done an amazing amount of work with technology in Montgomery County Public Schools over the last 3 years, and there are 4 schools that remain to be touched, and they are our 1 high school, East Montgomery, and 3 of our middle schools that will need to be to complete all the schools in Montgomery County. It restores $300,000 for instructional supplies to our schools. I can't tell you how many schools I walk in, and the first thing that I'm confronted with is a statement from a teacher or a parent, or a student even, about the fact that supplies are minimal at best. That restores 25%, just 25% of what has been cut from the instructional budget over the last 5 years. Restore $4,500 for field trips, and again, that also reinstates just 25% of what's been cut. The jury's still out on the possible sequestration, which has an impact of about $400,000 and touches the very neediest students in our school division, our Title I students who are free reduced lunch living at poverty level, and many of our special education students. And it will be March 1st before we have a clear indicator from the federal government about what's going to happen with this $400,000. I'm not going to go into a lot of lengthy justification for the requests that I've just reiterated for you this evening, as they have been fully discussed in previous meetings and are available for the public to review on video from previous meetings and are available on our website. I believe funding the items that I have listed is critical. The budget request is developed on reality-based needs. The grand total required is just over $96 million. The gap between our needs and the currently available revenue is $3.5 million, which equates to just over a 5-cent real estate tax if 1 penny generates $700,000. So what are the next steps in this budget process? First of all, we have a public hearing this evening. Second, our board will consider final approval of a budget to present to the county at our school board meeting on February the 5th. The budget will be presented informally to the county on February the 8th and formally at their meeting on February the 11th. We will all await final revenue numbers from the state, which will not come until probably February 22nd or 23rd. The county will determine what money the school board will get from county, and that will probably be April. The school board will approve a balanced budget because they have to approve a balanced budget. And whatever the gap is between the known revenue and the required needs of the district as presented in the budget before you this evening will have to be filled by reductions of one kind or another. The school board will approve that balanced budget for a public hearing in April, and our school board is unique in that they provide a second public hearing on the budget, whereas the majority of the school divisions in the state provide only one public hearing, and they provide it now. And then when they get to the point that they're making decisions about how to close the gap, there's not an opportunity for another public hearing such as the one you're participating in this evening. Ultimately, we'll submit a balanced budget to the county, and that will take place in late April or May. But the revenue and the budget have to match. So with that, I think I should turn it back over to Mr. Jones if you have other comments or if the board has any question. But I felt it was important to restate some of the things that we have been talking about as a board and superintendent, and also as my staff and I have talked for actually ever since the last budget was approved. And so tonight begins the approval cycle of a budget for 2013-14.
Thank you, Ms. Blackburn. And is there any comments by board members? I appreciate the recap. I think that was a very good recap that kind of outlines the challenges that we faced and the things that we have tried to implement and still are considering. With that said, I'm going to open it up to the audience. This is, as we said, a public hearing. At this time, I have 11 people signed up. It is, being a public hearing, there is no time limit to the speakers, but I would encourage each and every speaker to be mindful of their time and be courteous of the next speaker that is going to be coming up to the podium, and use your time wisely. What I will do is I will announce the speaker and then ask that the next person come and kind of sit in the on deck circle, so to speak, so that we can move through in an efficient manner. It is the policy of this board that we do not respond to comments or questions, that we are here to listen, and that we take notes. After we've had the last speaker, then that was when the meeting will conclude. So again, we thank you for coming out this evening and participating in this process. With that, the first person signed up to speak to kick us off is Mr. Mike Kaler, and after him is Tom Zuckerwar. If you would state your name and your address, please, I would appreciate it.
I'm Mike Kaler, 125 Howery Street in Christiansburg. I teach cinema and photographic production at Blacksburg High School. I'm very aware of the challenges that we all face, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak tonight for a few minutes. I wanted to address one of the budget items, which is taking away some extended contracts. I don't know what the procedure is going to be for this, the criteria, or how it's going to be decided, but I wanted to speak about what I do, essentially, on the 11-month days. When I first started teaching 25 years ago, I had printing presses and darkroom equipment and lots of older, antiquated stuff, which I have none of that now. It's not as dirty as work as it used to be, but it's still work that has to be done after the regular school time. I take care of 50 computers, 25 in my room, 4 servers, and also 25 computers that are used by the computer graphics program, the ad design program, the creative writing program, the yearbook, and the newspaper. These are specialized computers with specialized software that the technology department doesn't have time to deal with. Wow. It's a very specialized thing, like I said, that I have to set them up, and they are used constantly. 8 periods a day, these computers are thrashed. So I have to take them down, take everything off of them, put all fresh new software in, repair them, take them apart, clean them, all these sorts of things. I have lots of lighting equipment and different things that I have to repair and work on. And if I'm not given the 11-month contract, after this year, I don't know how it's going to get done or when it's going to get done. I really don't. And the kids are going to suffer tremendously because I can't do it during the school day, and I certainly can't do it on a regular school schedule, a regular teacher schedule. When I started teaching 25 years ago, I was given the contract as an 11-month contract, and I've had one since then. It was changed to an addendum contract about 8 or 10 years after I started. I can't remember exactly when, but it's always been considered something that we need, and I know everybody thinks that they need what they're pushing for, but this is time that I really have to have to prepare my stuff for my students. I have to get the new curriculum, the new software, the new tutorials, all those sorts of things ready for all those classes. The curriculum development is very important, as the stuff that I teach changes constantly. I mean monthly. So I have to stay abreast of that. So while the computers are being, erased and then reloaded and all this sort of thing, a lot of times I'm waiting on that. I sit and I work on software, and I learn new techniques, and I learn new packages of software. This past summer, we got 3 brand new packages of software that I had to learn and be ready to teach. I had to put 2 of them off until December, but we're using them now. Very complicated software, and I do a lot of that on my own time, of course, but it's very helpful to have that extra time as well. So it's really going to be a bad thing for my students and for the yearbook students and for Ms. Showalter's graphic students if I'm not there to take care of all this stuff. I really don't know how it's going to get done. In addition to that, this is going to be a major salary cut for me. We're worried about teachers not being paid properly, and that's certainly true, everyone. But I've counted on this money for 25 years, so it's going to be a major problem for my family if this is taken away. So it's a lose-lose situation for all my students, for me, and for my family. And it's going to be a lose-lose situation for the county as well, because a lot of these programs, these people need that time to be prepared for the school year and to also take this stuff down at the end of a year. At the very least, I would hope that you will look at people who have been around for 20 or 25 years or 30 years and grandfather them in some way. This has been a part of my salary, not an extra part. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person signed up is Tom Zuckerwar, and next is Kelly Pleasant.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tom Zuckerwar. I live at 3910 Fieldcrest Drive in Reiner. I'm here tonight to state my support for the 2013-2014 budget recommendations. I'd like to share a few interesting economic statistics for the record, and I also plan to share these with the Board of Supervisors. Clearly, the funding challenges MCPS has faced during the past several years have been severe. The Great Recession, thankfully, seems to be weakening, and economic recovery continues to show signs of progress. I'm hopeful that Virginia's economy will surpass some of the recent forecasts, if not this year, then in 2014, and expanded state funds will be available to partially replenish an extremely dry bucket of resources. Of course, there are many variables and triggers that could easily prevent this more than not. Unfortunately, fragile economic growth does not come with safety redundancies. Therefore, I believe the county must plan and fund modest budgetary increases to continue to offset the state's shortfalls. I recognize that economic challenges are still facing many people in our community on an individualized basis. Yet, I am reminded that rising tides raise all boats, and I find encouragement in the following. Number one, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, per capita income for the Montgomery-Radford Economic Consolidated Market has grown from $26,299 in 2007 to $28,668 in 2011, despite unemployment rates of approximately 7% during that time. Number two, from 2010 to 2011 alone, per capita income grew at approximately 3.5% in inflation-adjusted dollars for the same market. And number three, non-corporate total proprietary farm income has seen its best performance since 2009. And although the data is limited to 2011, the trajectory suggests that many of these small farms are now back in the black. The argument from budget debates gone past has been that economic challenges are just too great. Fortunately, now the economic data suggests otherwise. We are making gains. The question today is not, is education a priority? The question is, how do we grow as a community? There are fundamentally two choices. First, haphazard, where budget debates become all or none, or second, by incremental, planned and strategic steps that balance the needs of our children's education with the resources of the county. I, for one, support the latter and will be happy to share these remarks with the Board of Supervisors as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person signed up is Kelly Pleasant. After Ms. Pleasant is Barbara Crockett.
Good evening, Chairman Jones, member of the board, Ms. Blackburn. I'm Kelly Pleasant, president of the Montgomery County Education Association. I also live at 2737 Old Fort Road in Blacksburg. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight about the proposed 2013-2014 school budget. I come tonight, as I did last week, in support of the proposed budget. I support the budget, and I will reluctantly address the cuts later if that becomes necessary. However, I remain hopeful that there could be some adjustments to it. Yesterday, 11 of your employees traveled to Richmond to participate in the annual VEA Lobby Day. We met with members from all around the state, and we advocated for public education with our local legislators. You might be interested to know that a third of the people represented there were from District 3, which is just Montgomery, Pulaski, Galax, Grayson County, and Radford City. So we had a great showing and took a big group down, and many people commented on how impressed they were to come all the way out from Southwest Virginia. But we felt our voices need to be heard yesterday. So, having said that, the VEA is working very hard, and we worked very hard yesterday, and there are several legislators working very hard to change Governor McDonald's education plan of his 2% raise to include all school employees, not just the SOQ positions. I urge those in attendance this evening who are concerned about the underfunding of public education to contact their delegates and senators and ask for support of this measure. Because if this amendment passes, money could be put back into the budget that Ms. Blackburn has allocated as compensation for the other 53% of Montgomery County employees that the governor overlooked. We were pleased that many that we spoke to in Richmond seemed to understand the inequity of his original proposal. There's another bill in committee, a Senate Amendment Bill, number 139, that would raise the pay increase for all employees from 2% to 3%. Hopefully, the state will do the right thing for public school employees, as we currently are over $7,000 under the national average, a 31% ranking, or 31 number ranking, although Virginia is ranked 8th in wealth and 4th in education. It is my hope that the federal government can avoid sequestration and that the localities will not be responsible to make up a fiscal difference between what is required and what is important for our most vulnerable students. This budget begins to raise salaries, restore supply budgets, replace aging buses, and repair our roofs. It is both reasonable and fair, and we thank you in advance for your hard work and your thoughtful consideration.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Barbara Crockett, and after Ms. Crockett is Michelle Wilkins.
Hello, I'm a teacher in Montgomery County.
Would you get to the mic,
I'm
please?
sorry.
That's okay.
Thank
You're
you very much. I'm a teacher in Montgomery County. I live at 708 Graceland Court in Blacksburg, Virginia. And I've actually been in your employ since 1974. So you can do the math. I won't say how old I am. But anyway, I was under the impression I had to speak in less than 3 minutes. And so I've been cutting out adjectives all over the place tonight. And I was just thinking, wow, I could have said a whole lot. However, I'm only at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, so here we go. I am going to speak to the proposed cuts that we might have to make because they concern me a great deal as a middle school teacher. Titan Time, which some of you may remember fondly as advisory, or way back in the day, homeroom. Okay, we use that in our school daily. I spend this time tutoring students who need some extra help and cannot remain after school as no one is there to take them home. Other times we work on literacy, anti-bullying messages, and understanding the consequences of making poor choices. Please understand that no time is wasted in school. In the proposed model that we may have to use, students will not be on a team with which they can identify. I will only see as many students as possible once a day and impart to them the academic knowledge I will be required to share. This will be hard on middle school students as their age requires extra attention. I am sure if you think back to your own experiences, you will remember a time of awkwardness and a feeling of insecurity. These children will not do well using the same plan as high school students, and it will be an atrocity to ask them to do so. I know we want to be a school system that imparts not only knowledge but wisdom to our students, and the increased class sizes will create an ineffective situation, and it will affect our SOL test scores. We've worked hard to keep those high. In addition, the middle school teacher and administrator population is being threatened. In the wake of Sandy Hook, I cannot imagine that we would embark on such an idea. We cannot take caring teachers and administrators away, ladies and gentlemen. We need more. Our student population is around 830, and we surely don't want just 2 people watching out for the safety of an entire school this size. I know these are difficult times. I understand it's political, and I know the bottom line is the almighty dollar. However, we cannot make cuts that directly impact our students. They are the children of Montgomery County, and every citizen owes them the best we can give. Let's find other ways to tighten our belts if we must, not just ways that reduce our costs quickly. I do not envy your task, but as you consider the best way to meet your goal, I would like to leave you with this thought. This year's slogan, of which I am very proud, states, Montgomery County Public Schools, preparing students for their lives, the community, the world. If we should have to make these cuts, what can we truthfully say about our school next year? Would we just say efficient schools, but oops, we may not be as effective as we like? Or worse still, will we say we give our students the bare minimum because that's all we can afford in Montgomery County? How could we be proud of either one of them? Thank you for your time, and I hope we don't have to make those cuts.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Michelle Wilkins. After Ms. Wilkins is Lori Walls.
Hello. My name is Michelle Wilkins. I am a member of the community in Blacksburg. I live at 2100 Linwood Lane. I have 3 children in the school system. One is a rising 6th grader next year. One is currently an 8th grader. And I'm also a middle school teacher, teaching 7th grade math and science at Blacksburg Middle School. I'm here to speak to the efficiency report that was presented for the board's consideration by Mr. Nelson Simpkins and its impact on your decisions about the budget. It sounds so easy. Eliminate 19 middle school teachers by having every middle school teacher teach 1 more period a day, save over $1 million. Positively idyllic from an economic standpoint in tough budget times. My goal tonight is to make the notion of efficiency a little more complicated than economics. First, I want to suggest that effectiveness will be lost if we move to 6.5 classes per teacher per day, primarily because the whole premise of middle school level education, which is teaming, will be lost. The Association of Middle Level Educators publishes research summaries and policy recommendations based on peer-reviewed and published research that show over and over that treating middle schools like mini high schools and making policy decisions for middle schools based on high school models does not produce effective middle level education. What is effective for middle level education? Teaming. Teaming equals transition for 6th graders from a small 20-person classroom in a community-based school to a 100-person team in a larger combined middle school. Teaming equals time for collaborative planning and meetings with parents and with students that provide consistency and integrated learning for all students on the team. Teaming equals a place where positive relationships among students and teachers can truly be cultivated that decrease bullying, decrease discipline problems, and increase a sense of shared community where we all pull together. The efficiency model presented would throw teaming out the window with 1 fewer planning period to accomplish all the collaboration, mini conferences between teachers on common students, mini conferences with individual students, parent team conferences, planning for advisory time, all of that goes on behind the scenes on a team. 150 students per day, per teacher, does not lend itself to relationship building. Test scores will undoubtedly suffer and discipline will undoubtedly increase. Is this really so efficient? Second, consider the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A middle school with enough teachers, enough principals, enough guidance counselors, enough special educators, enough librarians, and enough support staff is a whole middle school. We've lost some parts already in these last few years. A counselor, several teachers, an ISS teacher position, and more. Take an assistant principal and a significant number of teachers from us in this budget cycle, and you no longer have a whole. Is that really as efficient as it sounds? Third, and most important, a stitch in time saves 9. I want to suggest that middle school is a critical time of life to spend a little money. It is a time of rapid cognitive, physical, and emotional growth, unequaled except for early childhood. Research shows that over and over. And a little difference at this time of life in an adolescent has far-reaching implications in the future. The success of our high school students is on the backs of the hard work done at a critical time of life, which is middle school. In this case, maybe the perspective on efficiency should be longer than just this budget year. A stitch in time saves 9. Spend the money on the full complement of assistant principals, 2 at BMS instead of the 1.5, which is below the Virginia quality standards. Keep the teams of students to no more than 100 per teacher instead of 150. Follow the guidelines for effective middle school education. Value effectiveness and declare that what is effective is what is most efficient. It'll really be worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person signed up is Lori Walls, and after Ms. Walls is Susanna Bingley. Hope I said the last name correctly. Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for this time to voice my concerns with possible changes to the middle school program. Within the past 7 years at the middle school where I work, 7 full-time teaching positions, 1 part-time guidance position, 1 full-time library system position has been cut from our program. With more budget cuts looming and talks of major changes to the number of instructional staff, administrators, and changes to middle school schedules, I would like to stress the importance of preserving the middle school concept by protecting class enrollment numbers and maintaining the number of administrators required to provide a safe learning environment. As the Association for Middle Level Education states, the importance of middle level education can never be overestimated. They remind us that our youth undergo major changes in every aspect of their being during the middle years, and that providing an appropriate education program for this age is a critical, important task. Their research shows interdisciplinary teams and common planning time contribute to improved achievement. Scheduling that allows teachers to be available to offer assistance to students and parents is of the utmost importance. Just this school year, for 8th grade alone, I have scheduled over 124 parent conferences, and each of these allowed at least 4 teachers to be involved because of the scheduling of common planning time. In addition to meeting with parents, teachers often utilize planning time to meet one-on-one with students, to offer remediation, or to help resolve issues before they become discipline problems. Maintaining this line of communication between teachers, students, and parents is crucial to helping middle school students be successful. If positions are cut and the number of teachers and planning times are reduced, the natural progression that follows will be less time for individual student attention, fewer parent-teacher conferences, and lower student achievement growth. At-risk students become even more so. Removing middle school assistant principal positions would directly affect the safety of our middle schools. Our 3 administrators spend every minute of the school day, from the time the first student arrives until the last student leaves, making sure our school is safe, warm, and welcoming place. They build relationships where students feel comfortable seeking them out for advice and help with problem solving. On a daily basis, students stop by our offices to ask to speak with one of our administrators. Relationships are built on a mutual trust and respect, which in turn decreases discipline and attendance issues. Studies and statistics provide the information needed to guide in the decision-making concerning what constitutes appropriate instructional and administrative staffing in our schools. Unfortunately, the news media all too often reminds us of the consequences of short-term planning and dollar-based decisions. I ask that whatever choices you make, please consider the evidence that supports what we know to be true. Crowded classrooms, exhausted teachers, and a lack of available administrators contribute to a decline of instructional programs, and quite often with lasting consequences to those we are here to serve, our students. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person signed up is Suzanne Bingley, and after Ms. Bingley is Susan DelSalvo.
My name is Susanna Bingley. I live at 2812 Mount Vernon Lane. I teach at Blacksburg Middle School. For the past 5 years, before this year, I taught at Christiansburg Middle School. The idea of increasing teacher efficiency, offered as a way to save money, seems to imply that we middle school teachers have a surplus of time in our workday and can therefore take on more classes and more students. Well, we do not have a surplus of time. Every minute is used. Much of it is for teaming. Teaming in the middle school is considered far and wide as best practice. Teaming takes a lot of work, time, and preparation. In my eyes, time very well spent. So, to take away team planning time is to take away teaming. So who cares? So just teach more and don't have teams. What is there to be lost? Quality. Quality of the middle schooler's entire school experience. Imagine an 11-year-old entering a school of 800 or 900. Teams break the school population down into small learning communities. And being a member of a team gives a student an identity, a sense of belonging, and a feeling of safety, all very important for young adolescents' well-being and academic success. I fear that if we teachers will no longer have I fear that if we teachers no longer have team planning time, we will no longer be able to foster strong and positive relationships with our students, enable positive peer-to-peer relationships, be proactive in targeting a student's academic or behavioral problems, team conference as often as we do with parents to ensure their child's success and well-being, address bullying effectively, and create interdisciplinary courses of study. Obviously, this is a short list of all that will be lost if team planning time is taken from middle school teachers, and those losses will ripple out infinitely.
Thank you. The next person signed up is Susan DeSalvo. I hope I say that right.
That's correct. It's good enough.
And Rebecca Hoffman is next.
Mr. Jones, members of the board, Ms. Blackburn, thank you for the opportunity to voice our concerns. My name is Susan DeSalvo. I live at 2805 Heritage Lane in Blacksburg. I'm also a 6th grade math teacher at Blacksburg Middle School. Excuse me. I do better with kids. I'm speaking tonight to urge you to retain our present model of middle school scheduling. I want to relate to you an example of the way that teaming and a common team planning impacts our students. A little while back, a student, I'm going to call her Alicia, came to me at the beginning of the school day. Now, she is a very sweet, helpful, lovely young lady who faces some very significant issues in her life: economic, social, attendance, and she struggles academically. She was in tears about an incident that had occurred on the bus that morning on the way to school. Now, Alicia and I have a good relationship. She's in one of my math classes. She's also in my Titan time, my advisory. So I talked briefly with her, got her calmed down, called the guidance office and asked for a counselor to check in with her later. Something that's increasingly difficult because we've lost the counselor's position. The other student involved was also in that same class, so I did a real quick little seat change, got everybody settled, and went on about the lesson. Later, during our team planning, I informed my teammates about the situation. One of my teammates had lunch duty that day, and she said, well, at lunch, I'll check in with Alicia, and I'll let an administrator know what happened on the bus. During our team planning, we agreed that Alicia had been having some significant problems at school, and that we thought it was about time that we needed to check in with home. So we called our wonderful guidance assistant, Ms. Walls, who scheduled a time with the mom later in the week for her to come in, and we met with her during our team planning time. We also thought that getting her a tutor would be helpful, so we went down and put her name on the tutoring list. Now, was any of this remarkable? No, that's the whole point. This is what we do routinely and often. And it's because we have the opportunity during the school day to meet and confer with each other. In another, supposedly more efficient model, Alicia might come to me with her concerns. I would call the guidance office. I would schedule a time for the guidance counselor to meet with her. And then what? I would not see her other teachers on a regular basis. I might not even really know who those other teachers were and who had whose kids. Alicia might fall through the cracks. Now, our students who have enriched homes, lots of family support, not many issues that they have to deal with, could likely be successful, I won't say thrive, but be successful in another scheduling model. But it's the Alicias that I'm really worried about right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person signed up is, Reba Hoffman. Sorry about that. And the next one is Jan Bridges.
Thank you guys for your time this evening. My name is Reba Hoffman. I live at 901 Hidden Valley Road in Blacksburg. And I've been a teacher at Blacksburg Middle for 19 years in 8th grade science. And I have a rising 5th grade, I have a 5th grader who'll be a 6th grader next year, and I have a freshman in high school. And the only thing I detest more than public speaking is budget cuts and how it's going to impact our middle school teaming model. So that's why I'm here. As a parent and a teacher, my mind has been reeling over what losing our middle school teaming model is going to mean for students. And but it occurred to me, I wondered what the kids thought about teaming. So I asked them, and our team planning, not our team planning, but our Titan time, which is our advisory time that we have with our kids. We have a class meeting every week where we talk about what's going on and things. And I asked them a question. I said, would you give me jot some things down. If you were not on a team in middle school, how would this have changed your experience in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade? And I wanted to share some of those with you because I wanted to bring their voice to this as well. You've heard lots of teachers' perspectives. The first girl decided she was only going to stick with the positive, and she was going to give the positives of both having teams and not having teams. And she thought, for teams, the Titan time or the advisory time was good. You get to know the certain people on your team and can talk to them about homework, and it's a great way to come from the elementary school. Her positives about not having teams would be you could have classes with anybody, not just the people on your own team, and you could have any teacher in the 8th grade. I don't know if that was directly reflective of me or not. I just decided not to think about that. The next girl said, the pros of teaming is that you know your peers, you have class with most of them, your teachers know what homework is assigned, and they care about overloading the student. Being on a team is good because you have your set people to talk to about your classes. You don't have to run around trying to find people to help you on your homework. This boy said, you might not have any idea where to go. Less bullying prevention would happen. And if we weren't on teams in middle school would be more like high school. Because in high school, you're mature enough and responsible enough to be on your own. But for the elementary kids, they aren't very mature, responsible, and knowledgeable about how their school is going to work. I think that it's okay for the high schoolers to do this, but elementary schoolers won't know what to do with themselves. I think they're talking to the 6th graders. I can't even begin to describe how important teams are. There's just an amazing team family feeling that makes you get to know these people. Also, we can't ditch Titan time. It's a great thing. And the last one says, it would be terrible if we were not on a team. Teams bring people together and help you make friends. So I just wanted to give you guys a little taste of what teaming does for kids emotionally and academically and mentally, all in one. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person signed up is Jan Bridges. After Ms. Bridges is Shannon Jarrett, I think. Jeanette. Can't read the writing.
Good evening, school board members and Ms. Blackburn. My name is Jan Bridges, and I reside at 7376 Christie Road, Radford. And I have been teaching middle school science in Montgomery County for 18 years. As you look at the budget proposal, please consider the children at the middle level. They are between the ages of 11 and 14 years old. Think for a moment and remember yourself and or your children going through this stage of life. These people are not young elementary children anymore, yet they are also not high school teenagers either. They are just beginning the wild ride of adolescence, a time period where even parents hardly recognize them at times. This is an entity all its own. For many kids, the school environment is a place where identity is found. It can be a place where kids come to a fork in the road, where they either make it or they break it. The middle school concept and philosophy behind it support kids at this very critical time in their life. The aspects of the middle school philosophy are important, and things such as teaming, team planning, and advisory are not taken lightly in our middle schools. They are utilized to support the many needs of our children. If we truly want to have our kids C2G, commit to graduate, then we need to take care of their needs. This is why it is crucial for the middle school concept to remain intact. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person signed up is Sharon, I want to say Jeanette. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm Shannon Jarrett.
Okay.
I live at 807 Village Way North in Blacksburg, and I can't support the proposed means to address a budget gap should you face that difficult situation. I'm a parent of a daughter who started 6th grade at BMS this year and a son who graduated from BMS this past spring. I really appreciate the team approach and would echo the words of the teachers who've spoken before me. I'm very grateful as a parent that I had this opportunity. It's like I was the student, that I knew that my children, and for myself, that my children were in a consistent group of children and had teachers who were able to talk about their needs and development. Thankfully, my children are healthy and developing normatively, and still I'm grateful for the chance that these teachers, some of whom are in the room tonight, have had to have a positive influence on my children's lives through teaming. But I'm here to talk about the appreciation that I also have for the administrators who are able to provide these teachers and students and families with the support that they need. The role of assistant principals continues to expand. Beyond instructional leadership, the APs are responsible for a range of administrative duties. These cover things such as scheduling substitutes to covering the treasured lunch duty responsibilities. They perform disciplinary acts that relate to students during the school day, and this includes meeting with parents to work together to resolve a range of issues that may stem from individual or family-related concerns. Outside of the schools, APs make home visits to families and children who need special support and guidance to help that child to develop healthily. They welcome incoming students and their families and start the important work of building relationships with 5th graders who are rising up to the 6th grade during that orientation process. This past year in our county, we've seen APs take on yet another role, that of athletic directors, whose roles were cut about this time last year as we continued or previously struggled with budget cuts. And still, we would consider cutting the number of administrators at area middle schools to meet budget demands. Now, middle schools in neighboring communities that serve 500 plus students, including Salem City, Roanoke County, and Roanoke City, are all staffed with 3 administrators each, and their schools are not significantly larger than BMS or CMS. I know that they are also likely struggling to balance their school budgets. These conversations are happening across the state and across the country. These schools value the contributions of their APs, and hopefully there aren't plans for them to reduce their numbers in the schools. APs serve an essential resource to ensure that our teachers can do their job. Increasingly, they're the ombudspersons who can link our community's children and families to resources within the school, but even more importantly, outside of the schools. The schools can't do it all. And in so doing, they further help our teachers to do their jobs and our students to learn. At a time when we must be concerned about the basic physical safety of our children in the schools, it seems unsound to consider removing 1/3 of our school's leadership team from BMS, CMS, or any of the schools when they have so many things that we turn to them to support us with. You know, we look increasingly to our schools to connect children and families with school and community resources that go well beyond learning and character development. And with APs in this ombudsperson role, I wonder why we should cut this critical lifeline between the schools and its families. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes everyone that has signed up at this time, and I appreciate those who have been brief and to the point. And at this time, I'm going to open it up to those in the audience. If you would step forward, please state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Langston, and I live at 850 Coal Hollow Road in Christiansburg. I was a middle school teacher for 16 years of my 18-year career, and this year I'm at Price's Fork Elementary teaching 4th grade. I'm here to support my middle school colleagues. I've heard and listened to their evidence-based pleas to save the middle school. I'm saddened that there aren't more parents like the last parent standing up here to do the same thing. And I've thought about that a lot because I know what you want to hear are the voices of the parents and students. But I hope you value the voices of the teachers who work every day with those young people. So I thought about it a lot. Why aren't parents here? Well, as I've come to these meetings and I've heard parents speak, they speak about the products that they're going to lose. They speak about their music programs, their governor's school programs, their sports programs. They speak about, students will speak about, as long as they're with their friends, they're okay. Because that's what they get from our education system, the products. But without the processes behind the scenes and all of those committed teachers making that product be what it is, they wouldn't have those things. You know, we don't really question why Starbucks coffee is great. We just keep going and buying it. We don't ask them how they make it. We don't ask them how they grow the trees. We don't ask them what they put into it to make it taste so good. We go and buy it. We don't need to know that if we recognize the quality. Parents don't understand all the inner workings of our middle school program. They don't need to, because they get the products out of it that these teachers and their administrators and the support staff create. I lived it for 16 years. I know what it takes to be a middle school teacher. You won't hear many young teacher professionals saying, I'll take any job I can get, because most of them are going to say, unless it's in a middle school. They choose. That you don't just take one you're going to get. Middle school youngsters are the most incredible people to work with if you choose to spend your time doing that. Not everybody is meant to. Not everybody wants to. Thankfully, the people who do are there, and they're impassioned about what they do. And they speak to you tonight because they're so concerned about what products they will be able to produce when their processes are cut beyond the bare minimums that they can live with. I hope that you hear them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Connie Froggett. I reside at 1751 Brush Mountain Creek Road in Montgomery County. I am the president of the Blacksburg High School PTSO, and I've spoken to you many times before. I was not originally planning to speak tonight, so I don't have my usual 3-minute spiel that I spit out without breathing. But when Mr. Jones said unlimited time, that was too tempting to give up. I especially wanted to follow the previous speaker because I think she had a very good message. I obviously favor this budget, and I think standing up here telling you why would be preaching to the choir. I think everyone in this room tonight supports that budget. The problem is the people who aren't in this room tonight. That's who we need to be reaching out to. And we need to have a lot more of these both emotional and fact-based appeals. And they need to come from the masses, not just from individual groups with individual issues. I agree we should not change the middle school model. I agree we should not close smaller schools. I agree with a lot of these things, and each of these issues have managed to bring people out to talk about them. But it's time we organized and got together and talked about the major issue here, which is the quality of our school system and the effects that these cuts would have should we have to make them. We've heard a lot about what it will do. I think it's time we start looking at what it has done. Over the past 5 years, I've had 2 students in high school, so I can speak very well to what's happened there. During that time, Blacksburg High School was rated as one of the top 100 schools in the country. It has plummeted in ratings during these budget cuts. Some of our other high schools are currently in danger of losing their accreditations, and a lot of our SOL scores have plummeted. Those are the kinds of facts we need to be presenting to the public and to the Board of Supervisors and to our legislators, showing what has already happened and how it is hurting our schools. And there's a lot more out there, but we need to find those facts. We need to bring them forward. We had a lot of opposition last year to the proposed tax increase, and we're going to have a lot again this year. Last year, we could stand up and say, look, we haven't raised taxes in years. We can't say that anymore. We've got to have more than just that argument. We heard a lot of appeals last year from seniors talking about the fact that they lived on a fixed budget. But when I look back, the Social Security system has given a cost of living raise in those 5 years equivalent to about 11%. I would like to hear from some of our teachers what it's been like to live on 1%, for the last 5 years, to pay medications like inhalers for their children. I'd like to hear appeals about what has happened in a lot of our schools. I know we haven't talked about it a lot. We've talked about supplies, but I know there are a lot of schools in this county that run out of paper halfway through the year and other supplies. We need to bring these facts to light, and we need to do it as an organized group. We need to come out en masse February 11th and after that to make it clear that we want to maintain the standards of quality we've had in this county. Now, I've often heard that we have a unique system here. We have a lot of advantages. We do things differently than a lot of schools around us. And as a result, we've produced wonderful students, ones that compare and compete with school systems like from Northern Virginia and the big cities throughout this country. Kids who can go to Ivy League schools proudly and say, hey, I may have come from a small school district in southwestern Virginia, but I'm just as smart and just as good as you are because I was well prepared by my school system. Do we really want to give that up just for efficiency? Something to think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Freeman. I live at 3320 McEver Road in Montgomery County. And I'm also a middle school teacher at Blacksburg Middle School. I teach 6th grade science. And I wasn't planning to speak, but there's something that I wanted to make sure was very clear to you. We haven't seen in an efficiency report anything that says we will eliminate teaming. We've just said increase class size or increase the number of periods that a teacher teaches. But if you do go to a model where there are fewer planning periods, it will be an inevitable consequence that teaming will vanish. Even if you didn't want it to happen, it'll happen. And so if you go to a model where you go to block system, there's no way that the same kids will have the same teachers at the same time of year and teams will vanish, as will enriching field trips, because how do you decide which group of kids to take on those trips? I just want to make it clear to you that you understand that if you adopt one of these models, it is a consequence that teaming will vanish. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Erin Bull. I live at 2703 Chelsea Court in Blacksburg. And I also hadn't planned to speak, but without a limited time frame where I would be worried I'd be immediately cut off, I thought I speak to children every day. I can come up with something. I am a teacher at Christiansburg Elementary School, and I have not received a raise, or a real raise really, since 2008. My parents are both retired, and my mom called me today to say, guess what, I got a raise. She got her cost of living adjustment. My parents, who are both retired, make significantly more money than I do, which is good. They've worked hard, they've put money in. They deserve to make more money than I do. But it is sad that my retired parents are calling to say, we got a raise on the night that I'm coming to the school board meeting. So I do think, yes, there are people who truly are hurting economically. I think, though, that more of those people than you believe are educators in this system. I'm not going to just say teachers in this system, because our support staff are hurting as well, because they also have not received compensation. I was part of the lobbying team that went to Richmond yesterday. Actually, as part of the VEA board, I went Friday morning. So if I am rambling, I apologize, but after being gone for 4 days, my brain is not quite back in line. But we did speak with some very supportive delegates in terms of salary increases and including all employees. When we spoke with them, Delegate Yost, Delegate Rush, and Senator Edwards were all very supportive of that. And I would say, I realize the school boards do lobbying, but you as elected officials, if you have not, please contact these people, call them, send them an email. Through VEA, I email them frequently, and they do still continue to email me back, which is positive. But please, be sure to add your voices to ours. We talked a lot about how receiving the salary increase that is proposed for only SOQ employees, is not going to help everyone, which is what the intent behind that bill was by many of the people who proposed it and have been advocating it in both the House of Delegates and the Senate. So please do add your voices to ours. We are advocating for you, and I hope I can convince my parents to come to the Board of Supervisors meeting to share what their salary increase on Social Security has been over the last 3 years compared with mine. But thank you for the work that you have done. As an editorial comment, I will say I can remember many years ago when I was in middle school that Mrs. Brennan, I remember my advisory teacher in 6th grade, because when I was in school, we were a 6 through 12 school. Everyone was in the same building. We did have our little A section, but we still had to brave the halls and dodge seniors as we were finding our classes. And it was something that I guess you could look forward to going to school, to know you had a friendly face that you saw every morning, and someone that, now if you were having a bad day, you had this personal relationship to go check in with. And so I do want to say that I definitely can see value in the middle school concept, and I've taught 4th and 5th grades, and though I am certified through 6, I can say unless my salary was significantly increased to go to 6th grade, I want to stay in the elementary school. And that's pretty much it. So that's what you said, Andrea. It's special people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Heather Cox. I live at 1006 Morning Dove Drive, Blacksburg. I've spoken before you before. I just wanted to say first thank you for putting this together early. We really appreciate that as a public, that we get to have feedback on it, and this gives us the opportunity to go to the Board of Supervisors and speak to our state representatives, which I hope everybody in this room will do if they haven't done so already. I'm sure some of the previous speakers talked about that. So I also hadn't planned to speak tonight, but I wanted to talk specifically about number 7 on the budget reduction sheet. So I know that this is the proposed budget as it goes forward, which I support, but on the budget reduction sheet, number 7 is about, on this sheet, number 7 is the VRS. So what I would ask is the VRS contribution, I understand that there's 4% left. We don't have to do all 4% this year, and so I would like to see number 7 listed as a potential budget reduction option if we don't get the $3.5 million that we need from the Board of Supervisors, in addition to the other revenue resources that you're projecting. This VRS doesn't have to happen this year. It doesn't immediately affect the classroom, so some of the things that are on that list, like the middle school assistant principals and administration support, and some of the things that we've heard the other speakers talk about tonight, it wouldn't impact them. Now, I've heard it said that we need to do VRS this year because our salary scales are not competitive to our local competitive school districts. And so I would ask you, does that mean that we aren't getting competitive candidates? Does that mean that we don't have enough applicants when it comes to a job, or we post a job and we don't have a pool that we think is appropriate for Montgomery County? So people make decisions based on more than just salary, as we all know. Location, why they choose to live where they live, the quality of the school that they want to teach in. And so I think that this is one of those items that I would really like to see move to the budget reduction item instead of some of the other things listed there, because it doesn't immediately affect anyone. It's not a raise, it's not in pocket for them, it's just something that we have to do over time. And so because of that, it's not something we have to do right now. I know it wouldn't be $552,000 because we have to do some percentage this year, but it would be a lot less than $552,000. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Again, thank you for getting this out early, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next person.
Hi, my name is Vicki Neurotter. I live at 60 Alexander Court. I am simply here as a community member and a parent. I do not have children in the middle school, nor in the high school. I have 2 children in elementary school. I simply heard through the grapevine that there were going to be more cutbacks to faculty and administrative positions. I have a solid marriage at home, and I have 2 wonderful little boys. My husband and I invest a lot of time with them. My children come home, we do homework together. We sit down at the dinner table at minimum of 6 nights a week, and often every meal over the weekend. We invest in our children. I make study guides for them. I make advanced tests for them. And still, my children have needs in the school system. If you make cutbacks to the faculty members, those things will not happen. My dissertation was regarding youth risk behavior in middle school students. The data derived from that study was quite alarming, and having received 15 minutes notice about this meeting and hearing about it, I darted out the door. I would have brought things and prepared things, but we cannot afford to have cutbacks. My oldest son is 9 years old. He has a teacher who somehow this year managed to institute in the classroom a portion of the time where she wanted children to share things about themselves, to develop respect amongst one another. I cannot tell you how amazing this has been for my son. There is an increased confidence. There's an increased desire to learn. I have said time and time again, quite frankly, don't really care if my children learn anything as long as they have the desire to. The term bullying is tossed around far too often, sort of like love ya, thank ya, sorry, without much reflection. There is bullying that exists. We need eyes and ears. We need them in the school system to hear our children, to watch our children. I have been told that my standards are way too high. My response is, what happens when I lower them? We need the quality for our children. They need it for their successes. I teach a health profession. We need it for our care later on. I am a college professor. I see what comes out on the opposite end. And we need not only book-educated children, but common sense and caring, quality students. I hope I didn't ramble. I made a few points on 15 minutes notice and hearing everyone, and I thank you for the time, and I will try to get more parents involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amanda Haskin. I live at 775 Deercroft Drive, and I've never gotten up to speak before. I hope I do not have a panic attack. I'm generally sitting there supporting those who are up here speaking eloquently, but I can't not stand up tonight because I am the utilizer. My family heavily utilizes the team teaching approach and the administrators that we have available to us in the schools. We have many resources available in our home. I'm able to be here as a parent because there's another parent helping with the homework as I stand here. Even with all of our available outside resources, the only thing that's making things work for my child is the team teaching approach and these people who've gotten up to speak. The teachers who've gotten up to give you many, many reasons why team teaching and administrators are necessary. They've had lots of reasons. I only have one, and it's my child who I'm putting everything I have into, but yet I can't give him everything that his team at school can. They give me information, they give me time, they help me to support my child academically and emotionally, and nothing that I can seek outside of the school matches it. We need time. and my child needs time from his educators. The reason that that happens is because of team teaching, and I don't think we can do without it safely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Lewis. I live at 103 Court Lane in Blacksburg. I wanted to talk to you. I've been listening to all of the teachers speaking, the parents speaking. I'm a parent of a child who is in 4th grade and a child who just finished middle school. He's a freshman at Blacksburg High School. I wanted to address the issue of how my son benefited from the team approach to his middle school time. When my child left, this is my child Evan, when he left Gilbert Lincas Elementary, he left with a IEP for a learning disability. And when he started at the middle school, his team, as well as the assistant principal, and we met to take a look at his IEP for middle school. He was shifted to a 504 plan. The team approach for my son was instrumental in helping him to become the young man who he is right now. And this is the reason why. Having a team for my son meant that he felt secure, that he felt like he could have a voice in a smaller group. And as we met with guidance counselors, teams, assistant principals, at each year that we had this 504 plan meeting, by the time my child was in 8th grade, we didn't say a word in that meeting. My child had the voice to be able to speak to each one of his teachers, to say what he needed, to review his 504 plan in a secure environment. Now, when he has his 504 plan meeting in 9th grade, which we had in October, we didn't say a word. He spoke to each of his teachers. His teachers asked him questions. He felt confident that he could speak and say what he needed. There's nothing more as a parent than I would want for my child with a learning disability to be able to speak for himself. I believe that his experience in teams in middle school brought him to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to address the board at this time on the budget? Please step forward and state your name. Can you put agenda up on the screen? Okay, hold on just a second. Never mind, I got it. Seeing no one else, I'll announce that the public address is now closed. Thank you all for your time and your attention this evening, and also for being brief in your comments. We certainly do appreciate you coming out and addressing the board on the budget and offering your input to the budget as we try to engage the community. And we encourage you, as you heard this evening, to please engage all elected officials in this process. We are the result of the elected officials above us decision. And then we must take and make painful and difficult decisions as we have done over the past several years in trying to come up with a balanced budget. So I encourage you, I actually implore you to please contact every member of the Board of Supervisors, and all of our elected state representatives that serve us in Richmond and communicate our dire need and situation that we face with our budget. And with that, we're going to move to the next agenda item, which is unfinished business. Board members, do you have unfinished business?
I hope, I don't know, I have an announcement.
Okay. The superintendent got some information related to a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors. You'll see that on the agenda for Tuesday, and so I'm just letting board members know, bring your calendar on Tuesday so we can kind of tentatively set some dates for a meeting with the Board of Supervisors, a joint meeting. I believe the date is April, if I'm right, we're looking at the April timeframe for that to occur.
What's the purpose?
Actually, it's a follow-up from the facilities workshop that we had jointly with them earlier. We're going to do our facilities workshop in the end of February, and our commitment from that meeting was that we would go back to the Board of Supervisors after that. So I'd spoken with Mr. Meadows, and we looked at April. In addition, the supervisors have requested that this board consider meeting quarterly, but that's not specifically the topic of the April meeting.
They forgot we were going to have, right?
Any other items of unfinished business by school board members? Next item is new business. Any new business that school board members would like to bring before this board at this time? Hearing none, we'll move to announcements and information. Board members, do you have announcements and information?
I have one announcement I'd like to make. I spent my whole career in the middle school in public education, and I'm listening to people out there, and it's bringing back incredible memories of dealing with young people between the ages of 11, 12, and 13. And it was very meaningful for me. And as I said back in November, and I'll say it again today, and I'll say it every meeting, I will not do anything that will harm kids. I will not have any cuts that will hurt kids. Thank you.
Okay. Any other announcements and information?
I'd just like to thank all of the people for coming out, but like everyone else has said, urge them to also attend the February 11th meeting of the Board of Supervisors. That is where we get our funding, and we need to also find ways to fill this gap. You've got some great information to share with us about your concerns, but how do we fill the gap? Ideas for that would be very helpful.
And I would also like to urge people to go to the Board of Supervisors meeting and again reiterate, contact our state legislators. We're very blessed to have some who are really committed to public education, but we have to keep letting them hear from us. Speaking of public education, I would like to thank Joe and Sarah and Connie Froggatt and all who are working to make this coming Saturday's program our first public fundraiser for our Montgomery County Public School Foundation. If you haven't heard about it, read about it. There is a Facebook page for the foundation, right? And this Saturday at 3 o'clock at Blacksburg Presbyterian Church, there are going to be students from across the district, as well as a very well-known baritone who graduated from Christiansburg High School, who will be singing at the foundation, first public foundation fundraiser. So bring your family, bring your kids, bring your friends, bring your parents. Come out, 3 o'clock on Saturday, Blacksburg Press.
Thank you.
Please, I'm so excited. And I'd also like to make an announcement about myself. This will be my 6th year on the board, and it's been a great, great experience. But I am going to let it out there that I will not be running this year, so that hopefully people will come forward and participate and want to be a part of this incredible board. We have a wonderful group, and we're committed to the future. And I'll hopefully use my energies in a lot of other ways, still committed to our young people in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Albritton. And just one other comment. For those of you who don't know who to contact or how to contact your local representative, go to our website. There's every bit of information related on who you need to contact All the contact information, addresses, email addresses, phone numbers are available to you, and it has been for quite a while on who you can send your letters, cards, phone calls to. And it's right there. So please visit that website and take note of all of those that are available to you. Any other announcements and information, for school board members, from school board members? Hearing none, you see the next item is agenda preparation, and well, another week we'll be reuniting here again next Tuesday to again talk about the budget. You see the agenda for that. And with that, I ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor? We're in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Long day.